Thank you all for tuning into another episode of the Barrel Chat podcast. We are a podcast that provides an unfiltered look into the craft beer industry from the untrained palates of two outsiders.
You calling me dumb?
Nope, but neither of us are Cicerone trained or BJCP certified, anything like that.
I don't have any cool letters after my name.
Exactly. So this week's episode, we are bringing you Transient Artisan Ales Ardent, which is a barrel fermented farmhouse ale. This should be pretty good. I am a big fan of Saisons, which is what this is. And hopefully it's going to be enjoyable. So to start off, kind of a little bit of background, because we did not get this directly from Transient. We got this from a local tap room called A Tap Room. What do you guys say about A Tap Room, Dustin?
So the first time I heard about A Tap Room, I had a friend that is not a beer head come to me and say, "Hey, have you ever heard of A Tap Room?" And I'm like, "Well, there's a lot of tap rooms. What are you talking about?" She started explaining what they do, and I was like, okay, well, that sounds awesome because it's just a unique setup. So the kind of background of a tap room is it's a tap room for any brewery that wants to work with Eric and their team to kind of bring everything in. So it's as simple as Transient, for example. Eric and Transient know each other, and they wanted to get Transient beer into Indiana, and Eric's a great outlet to get that. So really it's just a tap takeover every month. So they either get some super rare, super awesome, unique releases, or they get their standard run-of-the-mill things that we can't get here anyway, and they bring in their brewers and their owners to talk and do like a special release dinner and a bunch of other things. So for me, the tap room is awesome, and it's something that's definitely unique to Indiana, and the idea might be unique to the U.S. itself.
So they were nice enough to send us a little bit of information about the background of how they opened up the tap room and kind of what they were looking to do. So I'm going to read directly. This is from Eric, right? My background originally is in IT and manufacturing. I built the distribution program at Bare Hands with the intent to continue doing that in the bar, but they had sounds like a falling out after A Tap Room was open. That kind of sucks. Not surprising a little bit, because I mean you're kind of,
Your
I guess it
split
depends. Because they do say that the original idea was to be exclusive to one brewery, so probably Bare Hands, because they don't really have much of a presence down here outside of the cans and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then they morphed it into doing this monthly where they bring in someone new. I still remember this place fondly because it was the first place I visited in 2022 when I started drinking again. And we went in and it was just like, here's all the big stouts. And I'm just going through. I can't remember what I was drinking, what place it was. I think it was out of Florida.
I can't remember if it was Perennial, because I know Perennial was in there.
No, it was out of Florida. I remember that specifically for some reason. It was a place I had never heard of, but it was good. And it was just like, this is what I missed all of 2021.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the first beer you had was over 12%.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I just went right back into it.
And just got a pint, too. None of this, 8-ounce bullshit.
They mentioned that their 2023 goals are finishing a move, so they're no longer going to be in the old coal ship building. Is that how I'm reading this?
Correct. It's maybe a half a block away or a quarter block away. So they're actually not moving very far. They purchased the other anchor to that area. So much like Smoking Goose, they'll just be a permanent staple to that neighborhood.
Nice. So they're going to be adding arcades and pinballs. That's awesome.
Family friendly for those of us with kids.
Oh, I didn't even see that. Okay, that's good.
So apparently the outside patio will be family friendly, And then there's like the arcade and game section that will also have kid-friendly
Smart.
area.
Yeah, I feel like Indy is missing one of those because there's that 16-bit, I think is what it's called, down on Mass Ave.
Yep.
And unless things have changed, when they opened up, it was the only 16-bit location that didn't have family hours, which was stupid. And I'm sure it's probably some Indiana law that caused that.
Oh yeah, it's probably they don't have a bar separating the bar from the rest of the restaurant because, that stops the kid from going over there.
It still just sucks. So they mentioned the breweries I've picked have a combination of good beer and good people, places I enjoy to hang out, visit, or trade for. Transients venturing into Indiana more and wanted to kick off 2023 with us before a larger footprint in Indy. They are a stout-heavy brewery, and who doesn't love a stout in the cold months? You are not wrong. I would also argue, who doesn't love a stout any time of the year?
Yeah, I'll drink it all day, June, July, August, whatever.
Yep. Each brewery is different depending on their level of comfort with distribution. It can be a learning curve for them to get us product and us guiding them, or it can be really easy. But in the end, we pick breweries we get along with, and months usually go pretty smooth. I usually personally know the owners or get to know them before we commit. Some have been such good friends, we've taken vacation together. We want people to know about the move at the end of February, and they have an anniversary festival slated for April 22nd. So it sounds like tickets and stuff are going to be available at the end of January. So definitely check them out. I think it's a really cool spot. It's right now, because I assume they're still open.
Yep.
They're in the old coal ship building. So it's not big, but there's like a comfort level to it. So I'll be excited to go see what this new place looks like when they open up. What'd they say, February? End of February?
Yeah, I think their goal was end of February, and they're going to be closed for like 2 weeks between the finish and the start.
Nice. I'm curious to see like who's the opening beer for the new place.
Might be able to tell you.
Might be interesting to see that. So that's a little bit about A Tap Room. Definitely check them out down on Delaware. They're literally located right next to the Smoking Goose, and then it sounds like here in a month they're going to be located just a little bit down the street from there.
The other thing to take note of is their food there is from Rusted Silo, and it's awesome.
I didn't know they have food.
Yeah, so they do
have
Rusted
food
Silo
when we
barbecue.
originally went?
I think so. But they have like a limited release menu of just Rusted Silo.
Need to get in touch with him. I'm curious where they're making their barbecue out of now, because they do that for Two Toms, right?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, because I remember his spot up in Liston, I think it was, burned down. So I'm curious where he's making barbecue out of now.
So to answer your question about who be the first one to the new building, it will most likely be Casa Agria Specialty Ales. Never heard of them, but it sounds like that'll be the first one there because it's their February brewery.
All right.
They'll also probably have things that have like an opening party, of course.
Well, let's jump into this beer. Once again, this is the Transient Artisan Ales Ardent. It's a Farmhouse Ale Saison. For those of you who don't know, all Saisons are farmhouse ales, but not all farmhouse ales are Saisons. So a little bit of history on this style. The farmhouse ales were brewed back in ancient Europe, and they literally get their name because it was farmers who used their own grain, like leftover, and they would brew it during, like at the end of winter, and then let it sit until the summer, and then it was basically given out to all the workers and stuff to keep them going during the hot summer months while they were planting and picking and everything else, whatever they were farming back in ancient Europe. But the name Saison specifically comes from a small French-speaking Belgium town called Wallonia, and Saison means season in French. And so the beers were brewed, like I said, towards the end of winter, stored until summer. So it's just kind of one with the seasons.
Yeah, so basically it turns to
Yes.
beer at the time the seasons change.
Yep. And now they're just brewed all year long. Now getting into the nitty gritty, the BJCP, because there's obviously a guideline for saisons. Let's start here with the overall. Most commonly a pale, refreshing, highly attenuated, I think is how you say that, moderately bitter, moderate strength Belgian ale with a very dry finish. Typically highly carbonated and usually using non-barley cereal grains and optional spices for complexity, as complements the expressive yeast character that is fruity, spicy, and not overly phenolic. So I will say, first off, this is not highly carbonated.
No.
Well, at least not headwise.
It's not even releasing a ton of carbonation as it sits here. It almost looks flat.
It tastes a bit flat.
A little bit. I mean, there is some bite to it,
Yeah,
but
but
not a whole lot.
I would say that's the number one thing is that beer taste. And this isn't that old. So this isn't something that's been sitting around. We didn't pour this 20 minutes ago and let it sit. Like, that was one of the first things that we noticed, and I had saw while doing research, was that people complained that when you poured it, there was a little bit of head, and within like 30 seconds it was gone.
And that's exactly what it did.
That definitely happens here. For appearance, pale versions are often a distinctive pale orange. This is definitely pale orange. Maybe pale golden to amber in color. Clarity is poor to good. This
is really
poor.
clear.
Though haze is not unexpected in this type of unfiltered beer. Definitely haze. I think that's what, right? That's
So
what
yours looks way different than mine.
Yeah, it kind of does. Yours is not. Why? I wonder if like I got like more of the bottom. Maybe that's interesting.
Hand me the bottle.
Because mine is like orange and yours is more golden.
Yeah, this is almost lager clear.
Yeah.
Ooh, there was some sediment.
So maybe that's what it is. Maybe I got more, should maybe swirled up the...
Definitely opaque now.
Yep. Yeah, yours went from golden pale to
Orange haze.
through orange. Aroma, quite aromatic with fruity, spicy, and hoppy characteristics.
I definitely smell like orange peel and like some of the spices, almost an allspice or like something that makes like ginger.
It smells, it definitely has like the Saison farmhouse smell to it. But it doesn't have that. This is where I get in trouble of not really knowing how to phrase things. But it's almost like that spice smell is just not there. Like you want something that's a little bit rougher. Like this doesn't smell like it was made in a farmhouse. And like that's how a lot of them smell.
It doesn't taste like it was made.
It's missing that wild smell to it.
Yeah, the funk.
The funk, yeah. Which I know it's not going to have like Brettanomyces and stuff, but like just that wild, flowery, musky kind of smell. It's missing that.
Yeah, it falls a little flat. And that may be the carbonation, and it's not carrying like it should. So the carbonation is not having the ability to bring the flavors to the front. I don't know if that's actually how that works.
Yeah, I'm not really sure either. The esters can be fairly high and are often reminiscent of citrus fruits such as oranges or lemons. Got that. Hops are low to moderate and often spicy. I just don't really get much spicy.
I get a little, burn is not the right word, but because it's not hot, but a little bit of hit of spice on the end.
Yeah, I guess now that, yeah, a little bit at the end. Floral, earthy, or fruity. I get fruity. I don't really feel like I feel like the earthy floral is really what's missing out of this.
Yeah, this is definitely a more fruit-forward example of this style, as opposed to some of the others that we've had that are definitely like flower-forward or even just kind of like that super funk that you get from a farmhouse.
So flavor-wise, because that was all aroma, and we were talking about flavor, but I think it's all going to be the same. Medium low to medium high fruity and spicy flavors. I think we're there. Supported to low medium soft malt character. To be honest, I really don't know what that means in this instance. Like, I don't really. I mean, I guess it would be low because I really don't get any.
It's definitely low. I don't get a malt background.
Bitterness is typically moderate to high, although sourness can be present in place of bitterness. I think the sourness is there.
Yep. The sour is definitely there. It feels like I'm drinking almost like a dry sour.
So here's one of the big problems that I have. A Saison should never finish sweet. And I feel like this finished sweet.
Yep.
Mouthfeel, light to medium body. Yeah. Alcohol sensation varies with strength from none in a table version to light in standard versions to moderate in super versions. This is 5.5%, so there's not much of that. Very high carbonation with an effervescent quality.
Negative.
Yeah, that doesn't exist at all. There's enough prickly acidity on the tongue to balance the very dry finish. I don't get that at all.
Well, I don't think this one has a super dry finish.
Well, yeah, there's that too.
So it almost finishes like
we called it
a fruit.
We called it wet on the last one.
It's not the right phrase, but it finishes wet.
Yeah, it's just not dry. It's wet. What's the opposite of dry? Maybe there's a better word, but I don't know.
Yeah, it feels like, and this is going to sound really shitty, but it feels like Tang.
Yeah. No, you are 100% right. When I was drinking this, I was trying to think of a way to describe it, and it was like flat orange soda was the best I could come up with, but Tang is a better description.
Like a flat, under scooped Tang.
Yeah.
It's not what I was hoping for out of this beer. And
this doesn't really feel like what I was seeing in the comments and stuff, because it's got a 393 on Untapped, and it's only 946 check-ins,
and so this is at the right temperature, so it's around 42 to 45, I'd guess, because it's been out of the refrigerator for a little while. There's no description here.
That's one of my biggest beefs with the Transient, and I know this is a lot of breweries, and I really wish it wouldn't, but absolutely no description whatsoever. It literally on their Untapped, it just says barrel fermented farmhouse ale.
That's what it says here on the bottom.
Give us something more. Tell us what to expect with this beer. And that goes for everyone. Like, I want to know.
I also don't have a date. Like, I don't see when this was made, which I'm assuming it was fresh because it was given to Eric at the beginning of this month.
Yeah. That's odd. So maybe a bad one. We should make a note of ones that like we are not very high on, and then like maybe do a show where we just like retry like 5 of them or something, and just be like, all right, let's see if it's still a problem, or maybe we had a bad bottle.
I wonder if this is different on draft.
Or that too. Yeah. Like we should try and figure out a way to try it again at some point to just see, like, was it bad batch, or
did it just fall short?
Just suck? Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't suck. Would I go back to it again and drink it? No. But have I had worse beer? Yes.
It's not technically a bad beer, but I think it sucks because I'm guaranteed that bottle wasn't cheap.
I don't remember. But to be honest, it does fall flat from what I wanted it to be. I was excited because it's a barrel fermented farmhouse and it sounds fun. The label's cool. The label really looks Cigar City to me. It just has that like Cigar City look to it, but it sounded different than everything else they had to choose from because it's a stout heavy brewery, which they make insanely good stouts.
Yeah.
So will I go back to Transient? Yeah, every single time I'm in Michigan, I go to Transient. And I do so because they make good beer and because it's a unique experience. Matt and I went. It's a cool place. It's in the middle of basically nowhere, Michigan. Brigman, Michigan. There's another Tapestry is right across the street from it.
That's right. Because that place wasn't open when we went in.
Yeah, we tried to go Tapestry, but we didn't because you weren't open.
To me, I just say it sucks. Like, if I had bought this from a liquor store and got home and this is what it tasted like, I'd be so angry. Because you can't take it back. And I guarantee a bottle of Transient is probably going to be at least $8 to $10 at a liquor store. And that's not an $8 to $10 beer at all. At least not this one that we have sitting in front of us.
Yeah, it's underwhelming, sadly. But I guarantee that we have a follow-up here that will make Transient stand out again.
Let's hope, for their sake. All right, so tier list.
So we've got S
tier
through D.
If you're new to the show, if our doing of Transient has brought you into the show here, tier list, we have S tier, which is basically exceptional, highly stand out, gold winner, that kind of nonsense. Then there's A, B, C, and D tier. This all basically comes from the grading system over in Japan, and like their school grading. So like S is just how you give better grades to people who excel more. Instead of an A+, it's like an A+++. We also put our beer tier list up on Instagram. So we have the house beer one up there right now, which only has Kismetic, but it's up there. And then we have a specialty beer list, so that way it stays separate.
And this will fall under the specialty beer.
This will definitely fall under specialty, because if this is a house beer, they need to rework it real bad.
So it's S through D.
S through D.
I would say bottom of C to mid-level on D, because I don't know what we're going to have or how it's going to compare to anything. But it's not the worst beer that I have ever had by any means. And it's,
I mean, to be fair, if we had like a legitimate bad beer, it just wouldn't even make the list.
Yeah.
It would be put in the dungeon.
We'll have our own little section for that.
Yeah. Just the beer hell.
Go here.
Yeah. You are in this.
You are in purgatory. Get out.
Bad beer limbo. Middle of D tier, I think, is fine. To be honest, I would put this last in D tier because I do not like it at all. It just doesn't have much redeeming qualities for me. And I think my love of Saisons is what's impacting that a lot.
Yeah.
And I've just had so many good ones. And even ones that are just kind of like meh are just worlds better than this to me. Like, I would put it last in D tier. Basically 50 out of the top 50. But if we want to go like 45, 46, that's perfectly fine too.
Yeah, so I'm the opposite, where my the love that I have for the beers that I've had from Transient drags it up a little bit because it's just Transient. So like 42 to 45 is fine.
Okay.
Because it's definitely not the standard level that I've had from Transient. And I've gone out of my way to intentionally get their beer. I've had sours, IPAs, of course now this Farmhouse, some stouts. They're well known for their stouts. And then I think the beer that put them on the mark of being kind of sought after was the Juice is Loose, I believe is what it's called.
I remember that beer.
Here on Untapped, it's a 4.2 out of 18,000 check-ins. So that's pretty solid. But again, well-known brewery. Definitely worth a visit. Don't let this turn you off. If you're like a Farmhouse connoisseur, maybe don't go. But if you're into other styles of beer, definitely go down there, up there, down there, depending where the hell you are. Yeah,
I will say when we went, I didn't have a bad beer while I was there. I didn't have anything that I disliked. This is just, every brewery has a bad day or a bad beer or one that just doesn't make it. And as we have found out doing this for so long, most places don't dump beer anymore, and the ones who we used to hear did obviously don't anymore anyway. So at a certain point, people just stop caring, and They have to sell the beer to keep everything going, and if it's bad, it's bad. And that's why I said I'd like to try it again at some point just to see if it's any better.
Give it a fair shake.
Exactly. All right, so that's going to go down as number 45 on the Barrel Chat Specialty Beer Tier list. And I would say that's going to do it for this episode. But the episode 3 is going to be another transient beer. And now this is their Junie
Swirl.
Junie Swirl 2022, which is a Imperial Stout. So make sure that you follow us on whatever podcast app you use, because that's going to come out next week. And guess we'll see if it's any better or not. I assume it's going to be. It feels like it's real hard to mess up an Imperial Stout unless it's too hot or something, but I think we'll like that one a little bit more. So make sure you follow us on Instagram, and that's Barrel Chat. Obviously, all one word. Jeez, slurring everywhere, and I'm not even drunk. On our Instagram, you can also follow the link in the bio that takes you to our link tree, which is essentially just a page that has a bunch of links on it, and that will help you find our podcast on a ton of different podcast apps. It's real nice. If for some reason you're a weirdo like my buddy Brock, who uses Amazon Music, you can find us on there. Had to go and add that one. I can't imagine too many people use that. If you do enjoy our show, make sure you leave us a 5-star rating on whatever podcast app you use. If you didn't enjoy the show, leave us a 4-star rating. Either way, it's going to help bring in new listeners, and then they can decide whether they love or hate us. If you got a specific beer you want us to review, drop us a DM on Instagram. Shoot us an email at barrelchatpodcast@gmail.com. Like we said on the last episode, try and make it something that we can potentially easily obtain. Like we can go to Total Wine and get it if it's an outside Indiana beer or something like that. Or if it is something that you have and you would like to share with us, we'd also accept that, and we can then talk about it.
Yeah, but, send it to us.
Exactly.
So it's kind of on a finishing note. First off, follow us, review us. If it's a 4-star, I'm going to come find you, but whatever. But definitely get out, check out A Tap Room. If you're in there and Eric's in there, let him know the Barrel Chat sent him your way, or I guess sent you his way. Jesus.
Yeah. Sent him your way. Yep.
Whatever. Maybe it's a him and it works. But go check it out. Enjoy the beer. If you can find Ardent, see what you think about it, and chat it at us and let us know.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.